Hello students, how are you all? Hope you all are fine. Today we are going to discuss about Newton's laws. So we already studied about Newton's three laws. In last class we studied about Newton's second law and third law. So what is second law? Force is equal to rate of change of momentum, F equal to dp by dt, and we solve equation, we get F equal to ma, okay, mass into acceleration, where acceleration acts in the direction of force applied. Okay, then we move to Newton's third law. In third law we studied about every force has an equal and opposite force. Okay, so this force always acts in two different body, not in same body. Okay, so in object 1 we say it as reaction force, in object 2 we say it as action force. Okay, or we can say vice versa. Okay, so here we are going to do certain discussions based on Newton's laws. So the first point is Newton's laws are vector form. Okay, it is always in vector form, or we can say these laws are vectors laws. So Newton's laws are vector laws. The equation F equal to ma is known as vector equation. So what is meant by vector? It have both magnitude and direction. Okay, scalar means it have only direction. So this Newton's second law, F equal to ma, is a vector equation. Further we can say it is equivalent to three scalar quantities. So this equation equivalent to three scalar quantities. Okay, it is equivalent to three scalar quantities. Scalar means it have only magnitude. Clear? So we can write this Newton's second law in Cartesian form. In Cartesian form, we can write this Newton's second law as F x I vector plus F y j vector plus F z k vector equal to m a x vector, okay, plus m a y j vector plus m a z k vector. So what these vectors represents, or what is we make Cartesian form? So consider we used to draw a graph like this. Okay, we used to draw a graph like this. So here we have x dash, y dash. Okay, then we name this 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. In opposite direction we say -1 -2 -3 -4, -1 -2 -3 -4. Okay, consider a point which is located at here, a point P. So how to say the position of point P? If I'm asking where is point P located, then we can say the point P is located 3 units in x-axis and 2 units in y-axis, right? So we can say the location of point P as in x-axis we have 3 units, in y-axis we have 2 units. So this is the location of point P. So Cartesian system means a system which denotes where the particular place or particular point is located in the space. Okay. So point P is located 3 axis or 3 centimeter or 3 units in x axis, 2 units in y axis. So this is the position of point P. Okay. If we have another axis, z axis, then we can say it how many coordinates in z axis. Okay. So this is means Cartesian coordinate system. So this system means Cartesian form. Okay, we say it as Cartesian form. So similarly, our force which acts in x-axis create acceleration on x-axis. So if you combine these two equations, we get F equal to or F of x equal to max by doing simple multiplication. Okay, so here we have x-axis in x coordinate, here we have mass into acceleration in x-axis. If you combine these two equations, then I dot I will be equal to 1. Simple scalar product. Okay, this is the property of product. So I means we denote it as x-axis. Say x-axis we have certain object, we give some force to that object, and that force, because of that force, the object accelerate in x-axis. Okay, so we can write Fx equal to max. Similarly, Fy equal to may, Fz equal to maz. Okay, y I dot I equal to 1. Similarly, j dot j equal to 1, z dot z equal to 1. So which means if I give force on the object which is located on z axis, then the object tends to have acceleration in z axis, right? If I give force on y axis, the object move towards y axis. The acceleration gained by the object is in the direction of y axis. Okay, so this force which we give in x axis does not create any effect on the object which is moving in y direction, right? Similarly, if I give some force to z axis, that force does not create any impact or does not alter the speed of object which is moving in y axis. So all the three axes have separate force, and one force of axis acting on any object cannot create any effect towards other object which is moving in another axis. Okay, so if in x axis we give some force, that force only alter the speed of object which is moving in x axis. It won't create any effect on y axis or z axis. Similarly, in y axis some object is moving, we give some force, that object gain acceleration. So that force cannot create any effect in z axis as well as x axis. Okay, so this is our first discussion. So second point, the acceleration experienced by the body at time t depends on the force which acts on the body at that instant time. Okay, so the acceleration of body does not depends on force acting before or force acting after. Okay, so at that particular instant time we give some force, because of that force acceleration of that object depends. So we can write it in mathematical way, f of t equal to m a of t. Okay, so we give force at certain time, because of that force only we gain acceleration. Okay, so before this force we may give certain force, or after this force we interact the object with our external force. So this acceleration does not depends on that force. Okay, it only depends on the force which gives at instant time. For example, if a bowler bowl a ball, okay, so that ball move with certain acceleration, the ball move with certain acceleration. So the acceleration of this ball only depends on the force given by the bowler. Okay, the force given by the bowler. So this acceleration does not depends on air resistance, right? In air we have some resistance force, or does not depends on gravitation force. So this acceleration purely depends on the force which is given by the bowler. So this is our second discussion. In third discussion, we may say the direction of force, the direction of force may be different from direction of motion. Direction of motion. It is true that if we give direction to if we give force to certain object, then the object move on the direction of force applied. Yeah, that is true for many conditions. But there are some exceptional case where we apply direction in certain axis, in certain direction, the object may move in opposite direction or the object may move in different direction. Okay, so we give force to certain direction, the object may move in different direction. So let me say certain examples for this third discussion. The first example is case 1, force and motion in same direction. Force and motion in same direction. For this we can say an apple fell from the tree. Okay, so what force acting on this apple? So this is the force which drag the apple. It means gravitation force. Okay, so gravitation force acts on the apple, so it fell down towards the earth. What's the direction of motion of this apple? Of course downwards. So here force as well as motion of the object both are in same direction. Okay, so this is first case. Second case is force and motion not in same direction. For example, any kinds of centripetal force. If you take our planet Earth, moon is revolving, rotating around the earth. Okay, so you're rotating around the earth in a elliptical path. Here we have our moon. So what is the force acting on the moon? The force acting on the moon is towards the earth. So here earth have some gravitational force, so the force acting on the moon is towards the earth, but the moon is rotating around the elliptical path, so the motion of the moon is tangential to this elliptical path. So this is the motion of the moon. If you take any centripetal force or centrifugal force, the force always act towards the center. That's why we say it as centripetal centrifugal. Okay, but the object is rotating around the force. So here force is acting towards the center, the object is rotating around the center. Okay, if you take our sun and all the planets, so all the planets rotating around the orbital, but the force acting towards the sun. Okay, so sun have the control force to keep the planets rotate in its orbital. That force is known as centripetal force. Okay, so here force and motion not in same direction. So this is the direction of force and this is the direction of motion. The third case, force and motion in opposite direction. If we throw a ball upwards, okay, if we throw a ball upwards and the ball fell downwards because of gravitational force, right? Here the motion of the ball in upwards, what is the force acting on the ball? Why the ball again comes to downwards? Because of gravitation force. Okay, so here we give some external force, that's why object is moving above. Okay, so here the motion of the object is upwards, and the force here acting is gravitational force which pulls the ball downwards. Okay, so here force is downwards but still object is moving upwards. Any object which we thrown towards upwards, this is the condition where applied. Okay, motion is upwards, force acting downwards. This is third case. Fourth case is zero net force but there is motion. For example, if you take the raindrop, okay, which falls towards the earth, so what are the force acting on these raindrops? It experiences both gravitational force in downwards and the air drag force in upwards. So air resistance tries to stop the raindrops, so it acts in opposite to the direction of motion. As I said already, frictional force always acts in the opposite to the direction of motion. So raindrops falls downwards because of gravitational force. Okay, in opposite direction, frictional force acting on the raindrops. So if you take the total net force, F net will be equal to Fg minus Ff, frictional force. We can say Fg equal to Ff, then F net will be 0. So 0 net force even though the raindrops move. Okay, it acquires constant velocity and it falls on the earth. Okay, if you take any object, any dust particles which floating on the air experience these kinds of force. Okay, zero net force. So here gravitational force acting downwards, frictional force acting opposite to the direction of motion, which means upwards. The fourth property, multiple forces act on some body, say F1, F2, F3 up to Fn, then total force is equivalent to vector addition of all individual forces. Here we have one object, lot of forces acting on this object. Say this is F1, F2, F3. Then what are the total force or F net acting on this object, which is nothing but F net equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3, right? If n number of forces acting on this object, then total force might be Fn. So this is fourth discussion. We can say two forces acting on an object, okay, force A, force B, then the resultant force might be act like this. This is force C. Okay, so this is our resultant force. Clear? For example, if we take a bow and the arrow, okay, a bow and an arrow. So here some tension force acting on this arrow provided by these two strings, two adjacent strings. Okay, so if we pull this, then some tension force acting on these two strings and the net force acting on the arrow. So because of that net force, this arrow moves forward. Okay, so here our F net, we can draw this like a triangle. So this is our F1 and this is F2. Okay, and this is F net, F1, F2, F net, which is equal to F1 plus F2. Clear? The next property, we can write Newton's second law in this way. F equal to m d square r by dt square. So we can write it like this. Here acceleration is second derivative of derivative of position vector, or we can say velocity. Position vector or velocity. Okay. So here acceleration means change in velocity with respect to time. Sorry, here only position vector or displacement. Okay. So acceleration means change in velocity with respect to time. What is velocity? Velocity means displacement with respect to time, right? So instead of velocity, we can apply A equal to d by dt and dr by dt, right? Instead of velocity, I substitute this value. Velocity means change in displacement with respect to time. Here we take displacement as r. In some cases we take x, or we can take s, whatever we want. Okay, here displacement is taken as r. So instead of v, substitute this value dr by dt. So this equation will turn down like this, d square r by dt square. So we can say acceleration is the second derivative of position vector or displacement. So acceleration is the second derivative of position vector or displacement. So we can write Newton's second law as F equal to md square r by dt square. In terms of velocity, we can write F equal to m dv by dt, right? So we can say second derivative of displacement is not zero, which means force acting on that object. Like if our velocity is not zero, what is that meaning? Velocity is changing, right? Velocity is changing. What is change in velocity? Nothing but acceleration. So if there is acceleration, then there must be force. We already studied in Newton's second law. If there is acceleration, then there must be force. So second derivative of acceleration or second derivative of position vector is not zero, which means acceleration is happening. If an object gain acceleration, which means force acting on that object. Okay. Next discussion is, if no force acts on the body, no force acts on the body, then Newton's second law we can write m dv by dt equal to 0, right? F equal to ma, instead of a we can write dv by dt, change in velocity with respect to time. So here no force is acting, so we say 0. So what will happen if no force act on the body? Simple, Newton's first law. What is Newton's first law? Until force acting on body, the force either move with constant velocity or rest position. Okay, here we can confess that the object is moving with constant velocity. So if no force acting on the body, then Newton's second law become m dv by dt equal to 0, which means the object is moving with constant velocity. Okay, the object is moving with constant velocity. So from this we can say Newton's first law as well as Newton's second law internally be consistent. Okay, internally connected with each other. Clear? The next property, Newton's second law is cause and effect relation. Newton's second law is cause and effect relation. So in conventionally means some method which we used to follow many years. So in conventionally, we have to write effect on the left side of the equation and cause on the right side of the equation. Okay, so in Newton's second law, what is the effect? Mass into acceleration, right? So mass into acceleration, or we can write mass into dv by dt. So this is our effect. So why an object gain acceleration? Because of force. So this is our cause. So in conventionally, we have to write a Newton's second law like this: ma equal to F, or m into dv by dt equal to F. Okay, so effect should be written on left side of the equation and cos should be written on right side of the equation. So this is all about discussion of Newton's second law. Next topic is application of Newton's laws. The important application is free body diagram. Free body diagram means it is a simple tool to analyze the motion of the object using Newton's laws. To analyze the motion of the object using Newton's laws. So we study in this topic what are the forces acting on an object when it is at rest position, or when it is at motion, when we give some external force, or it is hanging. Okay, so we are going to study all these kinds of forces by using free body diagram. Okay, so there are certain systematic steps to follow while we have to develop or draw a free body diagram. The first one is we have to identify the forces which is acting on the object. So identifying the forces. Okay, then represent the object as a point. Object as a point. So whatever the object, we take it as a point, a small point. Okay, we describe it as a point. In the last one, draw the vectors representing forces acting on the object. So we have to draw the vectors to represent forces acting on the body. So vectors means a line with an arrow to represent what are the forces acting on the body, or what is the magnitude of the force. Okay, so by drawing this vector, we define that. Clear? Consider an example. We have a table. Okay, so in the table we have an object. An object is kept rest on the table. So what are the forces acting on this object? Say this is a book. Okay, a book is kept rest on the table. So what are the forces acting on the object, or what are the forces acting by the object? Okay, so here we have table and book. So initially the book have certain weight, right? So the book have gravitational force acting towards the ground. Okay, so the first one is gravitational force, or we can say weight of an object which is acting towards the ground. We say it as mg. Mg is nothing but weight. We know the formula of weight, W equal to mg, mass into gravity. Okay, so this is first force. Then whenever an object is contact with another object, there is one force acting. That force is known as normal force. So normal force always act in such a way it compress the object. Okay, it compress the object. So here the book is pressed against the table. Just imagine, we keep a book on a table. Here the book is pressed against the table. Okay, so the book acts, or the book provides one normal force on the table in downwards, right? One normal force. Similarly, the table pressed to the book in upwards. Okay, so we have to draw a normal force in such a way it compress the object. So this table provides one normal force on upwards. Clear? Okay, by which we can draw a free body diagram for the book. Okay, so for the book, the free body diagram will be like this. So this is our book. As said earlier, we represent the object as a point. So this is our object. What are the forces acting? The book provides gravitational force in downwards. So this is mg. Okay. Then the book experiences a normal force in upwards provided by the table. Normal force in upwards provided by the table n2. Clear? So this is for the book. For the table, what are the forces acting on the table? So the table experiences a normal force downwards by the book, right? The table experiences a normal force downwards by the book. So I can say the table experiences a normal force downwards by the book. Okay. If we want, we can also calculate the weight of the table, which always acts in downwards. So here need not to mention the weight of the table because the weight is laid on the ground, okay, by the legs of the table. So we need not to consider the weight of the table. Okay, you just neglect the weight of the table. So the table experiences normal force by the book. Book press the table as well as table press the book. So book provides some normal force on the table. The table provides some normal force on the book. Clear? So this is how we have to draw the free body diagram. Okay. So consider another situation, tug of war. So in tug of war, two teams pull the rope in opposite direction. Okay. So two teams pull the rope in opposite direction. Consider a person standing here. A person standing here. So what are the forces acting here? What are the forces? He pulled this rope in this direction. Negative x-axis. Okay. But what is the name of this force? We can say tension force. Okay. So because of his force, a tension is created on the rope. So this force is normally known as tension force. But we take tension force always away from the object. Okay, always away from the object. Here tension force is provided by his hand and some force is created on the string. We denote that force always away from the object. Okay, so we denote the tension force acting like this. Clear? Tension force acting like this. So because of this tension, the object is moving in this direction only. But we consider tension force always acting on the string. Okay, so the rope is coming leftwards because of the force provided by the person. We consider tension force acting opposite or away from the person. Okay, so this is our tension force. Clear? Then obviously this person has some weight, so that weight force is acting downwards. If we draw free body diagram, so this is the person and this is tension force, this is weight. Okay, obviously the floor applies some normal force on the person like this. Clear? Consider another example. We have two objects. Okay, one object is kept on the ground and another object is kept upon it. Kept upon another object. Clear? So we take it as M1, M2. Okay. So now think, what are the forces acting here? What are the forces acting here? So here we have two contacts, right? M1 is contact with the M2. M2 contact with the floor. Clear? So here M1 have certain mass. So weight force acting by m1 towards the ground. So if I draw here for m1, okay, so this m1 have some weight which act towards the ground. Clear? So this m1 pressed against m2, contact with m2. So this m2 must provide a normal force which compress the m1. Okay, which always act towards the m1, which compress the m1. So this m2 provides a normal force like this. Clear? So we take it as n1. So these two forces acting on object m1. Okay. Now think about what are the forces acting on m2. M2 have contacts with two surfaces. What are those two surfaces? First one is M1, next one is floor. So M2 have two normal forces. The normal forces provided downwards towards the M2 by M1, right? M1 pressed against the M2. So M1 provide one normal force which compress M2. So we can draw a force like this. This is my N2. Clear? Then the floor which provides some normal force which compress the mass M2 in upwards. Right? Here we have floor, the mass M2 contacts with the floor. So whenever there is a contact, we have a force, normal force. So this floor compress the object M2. So we have another normal force like here. Okay, so normal force provided by the floor on the object. Clear? Then as usual we have mass of m2. So the mass is acting downwards, weight, okay, mg. Clear? Now you have clear about this free body diagram, right? Thank you. So this is all about today's class. In our Zoom meeting, we will see certain simple numericals based on these applications of Newton's laws. Okay. Thank you, students. Thanks for watching.